7 bone-chilling wilderness horrors you'll regret ignoring. Are you brave enough to watch? A shiver ran down their spines as they entered the woods, eager explorers on the edge of a terrifying truth. This wasn't just a forest, it was a maze of nightmares. Twisted trees loomed like monstrous shadows, their gnarled branches clawing at the sky, hinting at dark secrets hidden beneath thick foliage. The air was thick with tension, electrifying, almost alive, as if the forest itself was waiting for someone to step too far, or ask too many questions. Legends whispered on the wind spoke of a creature known as the Whispering Dead. It was said to trap the souls of the lost, luring them in with tantalizing echoes of their loved ones. Imagine hearing your mother's voice, clear as day, calling your name from just around the corner, only to discover it was leading you toward your doom. The fear clawed at them, gnawing at their minds, hearts racing as they recalled the stories of campers who had vanished, leaving nothing behind but a faint whisper. But that wasn't the only chilling tale that echoed through the trunk-laden air. Had anyone ever heard of the Cursor's Brook? The legend told of a woman betrayed, her spirit trapped, cursing all who dared to approach the water's edge. It was said those who dipped a toe in the brook were driven mad, forever haunted by visions of betrayal and screams for help ringing in their ears. It felt unreal, like something out of a horror flick, yet the distant cries felt too close for comfort. A chilling realization gripped them tightly. Some legends were rooted in experience, and the weight of that truth was suffocating. Just as they began to process the dreadful tales, the very atmosphere shifted. A sharp crack echoed in the woods, like a gunshot. Each explorer froze, eyes wide, breath caught in their throats, hearts pounding in sync with the ominous rhythm of the wilderness. Rustling leaves whispered threats, the rustle juxtaposed against the heavy silence of fear. What had caused that sound? Whatever it was, it felt like something more than just the wind. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With an unsettling chill in the air, they pressed on, each step revealing new horrors. The light seemed to dim, shadows stretching, whispering promises of madness. They could feel something watching, stalking them, a presence that stirred restlessly. As the wind howled through the trees, it seemed to carry distant laughter, echoes of those who had lost their minds in these cursed woods. But there was no turning back. Curiosity pulled them deeper into the heart of the unknown. Clutching their flashlights like lifelines, they stumbled upon a clearing. What lay before them sent chills down their spines, a circle of stones, each etched with runes, glowing faintly. It was a warning, maybe a trap, but they had to understand. Was this a portal? An altar? Or something sinister meant to ensnare the unwary? Questions raced through their minds, but as they stepped closer, the ground trembled beneath them. Would they unravel the mystery, or would they join the countless souls lost to the wilderness, never to be heard from again? The ground shook violently beneath their feet, a primal tremor that echoed through the trees. Fear surged like a tidal wave, filling their lungs with ice. The clearing transformed, shadows twisted, creeping closer, alive with malevolent intent. Each heartbeat pounded like a war drum, demanding action, yet they were frozen, ensnared by the unholy glow of the runes. A piercing scream split the air, a tortured sound that cut deeper than the shadows. It was familiar yet distorted, something terrible resonated within it, stirring buried memories. Jenna clutched her chest, gasping as a nagging voice whispered her name. It sounded just like her mother, but something felt deeply wrong. She fought to stay grounded, shaking her head violently to dislodge the spectral call. Listen. Stephen hissed, his flashlight flickering, struggling against the encroaching darkness. We have to go. Now. But it was as if their legs had turned to stone. The runes pulsed in response, intensifying with every breath they took. Jacob moved tentatively toward one of the stones, curiosity overpowering common sense. I think maybe we can figure this out. What if there's a way to break whatever spell is here? No! Shouted Jenna, gripping his arm tightly. You don't know what this is. You could, but before she could finish, Jacob reached out to touch the rune that pulsed with a sinister light, his fingers brushing against its surface. The instant contact sent a jolt through him, a flash of white-hot pain and unearthly visions. He staggered back, eyes wide with terror. It showed me. What did you see? Stephen's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. It was Jacob stammered, breathless, the words dripping from his lips like a slow poison. A woman, she was drowning and there were hands pulling her down. She cried out for help. The air thickened around them, wrapping tightly like a noose. A thick fog rolled in, crawling with the scent of decay, as if the woods themselves were feasting on their dread. The presentations of betrayal were everywhere now, shadows in the corners of their eyes, whispers hanging in the air. Each breath they took felt heavier, almost as if the haunting presence was sucking the very will to fight from their souls. Panic sparked like a live wire among them. We have to leave! Shouted Jenna, terror flooding her voice. She tugged at Jacob, but he was rooted to the spot, haunted by the sight he couldn't shake off. Light turned to darkness as the fog thickened, wrapping them like a blanket of despair. A sinister laugh echoed around them, a ghostly chorus laced with malice. Help, it sang, but the plea morphed into a sinister taunt that sent shivers climbing up their spines. Help us! Blood drained from their faces. They had heard it, something so wrong, so twisted. It was a mockery of what they knew to be human. Desperation stole their breath, and thoughts scattered like autumn leaves in a gust of wind. We can't stay here. Stephen pulled Jacob back, his breathing frantic. But as they turned to flee, a different noise erupted from the shadows. Soft, shuffling steps echoed closer, growing louder, and the air thickened with an overwhelming dread. The trees shifted again, as if whispering secrets, urging the explorers to break free from the circle before it was too late. And then, as if summoned by their fear, a figure materialized at the edge of the clearing. Sallow skin stretched over a skeletal frame, vacant eyes gleaming in the dim light. The creature's mouth opened, revealing dark voids where teeth once existed, and a bone-chilling rasp emerged, cutting through the thick fog. Welcome, you've finally arrived. With hearts pounding, they stumbled backward. The creature continued its slow advance, its intentions clear. How had they unwittingly summoned this horror? In their frantic attempts to escape, the whispers grew louder and more numerous, enveloping them. Desperation clawed at their sanity. They had to act, but what would it cost them? Would they find a way to break free, or would they become the latest additions to the Whispering Dead? The air crackled with impending doom as the figure loomed closer, and a chilling realization hit them all at once. The forest didn't just want to show them their fears, it wanted their souls. As they raced toward the maze of trees, the ground threatened to swallow them whole, and the laughter of the damned echoed behind them, sinister and mocking. What awaited them in the shadowy depths of the woods? The question hung heavy in the air: would anyone ever emerge from this grim fate, or would they be lost forever? The forest roared to life, every branch creaking and groaning under the weight of their fears. Jenna's pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out the ghostly laughter that taunted them from the shadows. This was more than panic, it was a primal instinct to survive. Please, move! Jenna cried, shoving Jacob harder, desperate to pull him from the grip of the runes. We can't let it. The ground bucked beneath them again, throwing Stephen to the side and sending him crashing to the leaf-strewn earth. A gasp escaped his lips as he hit the ground, his flashlight flickering dangerously close to the dark figure. The beam caught the creature's hollow eyes, glinting like shards of ice, sending chills through each of them. Get up, Steve! Jacob shouted, scrambling to help his friend. We have to go. But the creature's haunting presence loomed larger, spreading dread faster than the fog itself. It didn't just block their path, it absorbed their fear, hungry and relentless. More than ever, it felt like something utterly malevolent waited. Run! Jenna screamed again, urgency seeping into her voice as she dragged Jacob back, unwilling to leave Stephen behind. The shadows twisted into grotesque shapes, towering over them, each a reflection of their worst nightmares. They didn't dare look back. Every instinct told them to flee deeper into the forest, even when the darkness felt alive, swirling with whispers that clawed at their sanity. Branches snapped underfoot as they bolted between trees, the urgency thickening in the air. What the hell was that? Stephen gasped once he regained his balance, panting heavily. I don't know, but it's not just a creature. Jenna panted. Those were the whispers of the souls it's taken. A glimmer of hope ignited. We can't let it have us. Jacob exclaimed, determination hardening his voice. It showed me that woman. If we can find her, maybe we can understand what it wants. Jenna nearly stumbled but caught herself just in time. You still think it's showing us the truth? It's luring us. In the chaos of their frantic flight, the trees began to shift, creating a winding path that seemed to lead them somewhere or trap them. The thickening fog twisted, obscuring their vision. Look out! Stephen shouted, as it seemed a branch reached out, blocking their escape. They ducked just in time, and the branch snapped back, vibrating ominously. What do we do? Jacob's voice wavered as he scanned his surroundings. Every shadow felt alive, creeping closer. Jenna's heart raced. They could either wait for the creature to close in or take their chances with whatever lay in the depths of the woods. We find the woman. She shouted, conviction coursing through her. We have to try. Pressing on with renewed fervor, they ventured deeper into the forest's heart. The air became thick with dampness and despair, whispering hearts begging for release. Each step felt like walking on a precipice, the ground threatening to give way. Suddenly, the fog lifted just enough for them to glimpse a glint of something in the distance, a pale light flickering among the twisted branches. It pulsed, as if beckoning them closer. Do you see that? Jacob whispered, his breath hitching. Hope mixed with terror in Jenna's throat. It could be her, it has to be. Stephen urged, pushing past the irrational fear clawing at their insides. They weaved between the trees toward that flickering glow, every heartbeat echoing louder than the whispers, but as they closed in, the pulse of the light began to dim, and the mocking laughter erupted around them once more, drowning out any reasoning. The deeper they moved, the more the feeling of dread nested in their bones. What was waiting at the heart of the forest? Was it salvation, or the last breaths of those who lost their way before? The light flickered out completely for a haunting moment, leaving them engulfed in blinding darkness. Panic threatened to erupt again, and just then, from behind the trees, a ghostly figure emerged, its face twisted in agony. Help me! It wailed. The word sent shockwaves through each of them. Were they doomed to repeat the same fate, lured by dark sorrows? Would they find the truth, or summon their own despair? The forest held secrets buried deep within, secrets they were now compelled to unearth. But at what cost? As the figure lunged forward, they stood paralyzed, caught between the draw of the unknown and the dark laughter that trailed behind. Would they have the strength to face the horrors lying in wait, or would it be the final curtain for their souls in this cursed wilderness? Jenna's breath hitched in her throat as the figure drew closer, its face contorted in a mask of despair. The hollow eyes locked onto hers, and she felt her heart skitter to a halt. Please, you have to help me. The apparition cried, its voice a haunting blend of terror and desperation. Is it real? Jacob whispered, dread gnawing at his insides. He reached for Jenna's hand, the warmth of their grip a fragile tether in the suffocating darkness. Don't listen. Stephen shouted, backing away, his eyes darting around as if another menace lurked in the obsidian shadows. It could be a trap. As the figure swayed like a wisp of smoke, Jenna's instincts screamed to run. But something about the voice, the way it wrapped around her heart, made her hesitate. She could see a shimmer of hope in the apparition, a silent plea that bore the weight of countless souls lost before them. "Help me," it insisted again, the sound slicing through the silence like a blade. "Find me, before it's too late." Panic surged. Jenna was torn. "We can't just leave it." She felt the thread of bravery pulling her forward, desperate to understand what this figure meant. Could this be the woman Jacob had seen? "Jenna, no." Jacob pulled her back, his grip tightening painfully. "This isn't a rescue mission. It's a distraction." But the creature's energy radiated vulnerability, igniting something deep within Jenna. "We have to take the chance," she replied, shaking free of Jacob's grasp. The energy pulsing from the dark figure felt familiar, like a forgotten memory trying to resurface. Before she could scream for him, Jenna stepped closer, her heart pounding violently. The ghost wailed again, "Help me. You need to remember. The truth is here." At that moment, the fog thinned, revealing outlines of twisted trees that seemed to stretch impossibly high. Shadows danced in the underbrush, filled with echoes of laughter that reeked of malice. Jenna felt dizzy, a sudden rush of images swirling through her mind, whispers of betrayal, memories of her mother's scared face, and the promise of a light she had lost. "Jenna." Jacob's voice was frantic, but it faded into the background as the entity inched closer, its features sharpening. "Find me," it whispered, and Jenna knew, in that fleeting moment, what it meant. This was a chance. A chance to unlock the past, to save whatever essence of truth remained. "Wait." She spun back around, calling out to Jacob and Stephen. "I think I can help it." But the ground shuddered, and the shadows flickered like candle flames. "No!" Jacob yelled, his voice melting into the cacophony of laughter around them. The creature surged forward, lunging just as the trees creaked ominously. Jenna's world exploded into a frenzy of collapsing branches and shrieking winds. She reached out to the figure, but it vanished, dissolving like mist beneath the weight of darkness. "Run!" Stephen shouted, but where could they go? Panic bloomed anew as the laughter swelled, filling every space with a chilling echo of despair. Shadows soared among the trees, twisting into monstrous shapes. "Jenna, we can't stay here." Jacob grasped her arm, pulling her toward a narrow path that had opened between the trees. She felt a surge of resistance, an unseen force trying to keep her tethered to that moment. Suddenly, the ground erupted again, sending them tumbling. They fell onto the forest floor, gasping as the air felt alive with darkness threatening, convulsive. Jenna scrambled to stand, adrenaline flooding her veins. "We have to find her," she declared again, desperation flooding her words. Stephen shook his head, eyes wide. "You don't know what you're saying. It'll consume us." But her mind was made, the choice set. The need to seek the truth, to face whatever terror surrounded them, overshadowed her fear. As they raced deeper into the forest, the shadows called out, daring them to stop. Anxiety clawed at Jenna's insides, gnawing fiercely. With every step, she sensed the whispers tightening, as if the very air wrapped around her throat, and then, a new sound cut through the laughter, a voice that wasn't lost. It echoed with longing, threading through the trees. "Help me find me." It was closer now, a beacon beckoning them to push forward. The forest pulsated with dark promise, drawing them ever into its gnarled embrace. What awaited them in the heart of that dark tangle? Would they uncover the truth, or unleash horrors yet unseen? As the laughter surged again, mingling with that ghostly call, hope and dread fused into a single, potent pulse that quickened their pace yet again as they plunged deeper. In this cursed wilderness, what would be their fate? Would they escape, or would they be consumed by the shadows that had claimed so many before them? Jenna could hardly breathe as they pressed forward, each heartbeat echoing in her ears. The trees loomed larger, their branches extending like skeletal fingers, trying to ensnare them. Shadows deepened around every corner, thickening the darkness as if it were alive, eager to swallow them whole. "Just stay close," Jacob urged, his eyes wide, darting between the trees. The urgency in his voice was tinged with panic, and Jenna felt her own fear creeping up her spine. "Don't you hear it?" she whispered back, her voice trembling. The sensation of being watched, of unseen eyes lingering in the gloom, gnawed at her resolve. It was the voice, soft and desperate, like the flutter of a dying breath. It embedded itself in her mind, urging her to seek. Help me, find me." The words wove through the damp air, wrapping around her like a noose, pulling her deeper into the snarl of branches. She couldn't shake the feeling she had a duty to this lost soul. "Jenna, think," Stephen interjected, his breath coming out in short gasps. "This could be a trap. We need to get to safety." "No!" she shouted, the desperation spilling over. "What if it's not? What if it's someone trapped, like us? We can't abandon them." Then, as if summoned by her conviction, the apparition re-emerged from the shadows. The moonlight flickered through the canopy, illuminating its anguished face, now clearer but still shrouded in a mist of despair. "Help me. They're coming." Its voice trembled, breaking her heart. "What do you mean? Who's coming?" Jenna felt the heat of fear radiate off Jacob. He tugged at her, now more demanding, but she wouldn't budge. "They'll find you, find me." The spirit's hand swept toward the dense trees beyond. "You must hurry, before the darkness consumes my soul." The ground rumbled faintly beneath her feet. A distant roar, a sound like thunder passing through the earth, sent tendrils of dread creeping through her veins. Jenna took a step forward, her heart racing. "Listen, it's getting worse." Jacob's voice wavered, a thread of fear knitting through his tone. "We can't stick around. I want to leave it." Jenna insisted, adrenaline pushing her determination higher. She inhaled sharply. They had to save someone. It was their chance to right some wrong. Whatever lay hidden in the forest felt alive, as if it thrived off their fear and doubt. She pivoted toward the apparition. "What do you need from us? How can we help you?" Suddenly, the laughter around them turned to wails, and shadowy figures slithered out from the underbrush, twisting and writhing toward them. The air felt electrified, crackling with danger. Jenna stumbled back, eyes wide with horror. The creatures bore twisted faces, mirroring the agony that had hung in the air since they entered. "Run!" Jacob shouted, pulling at her again, but Jenna could only stare at the unsettling sight. The figures moved closer, encircling them in a tightening grip. Desperate eyes flicked toward her, mouths mangling into smirking gestures that oozed malice and mockery. "Help me!" the figure cried, rising in urgency, a shimmering beacon against the impending horrors. "Stop! Don't leave!" Jenna screamed, her heart ripping at the thought of something else slipping away. The essence of the figure faded, but its voice maintained a desperate anchor in the chaos. In that moment, the ground shivered again, a violent pulse that felt like the heart of the forest itself. A shadow surged forward, eyes glinting like shards of glass in the dark, glowering at Jenna with an insatiable hunger. Jenna's body screamed to run. She tore her gaze from the specter toward Jacob and Stephen, whose faces were frozen in terror. They had to make a decision fast. The shadows were closing in. "Now!" she yelled, rousing them from their stupor. As they stumbled back, the figure called again, the world swirling around them. "Only together can you break the curse." But would they have to sacrifice more than they were willing? Or unleash even deeper horrors onto themselves? With that unsettling call echoing in her mind, she turned, pulling her friends to safety. But the question gnawed: could they find the truth without losing themselves to the darkness? Jenna plunged deeper into the woods, the shadows twisting around her like malevolent spirits. The echoing wails reached a crescendo, their voice rising in urgency, chasing after them. Jacob and Stephen flanked her, both practically dragging her at this point. What the hell was that? Jacob shouted, glancing over his shoulder. The panic in his voice cracked like glass, sharp and terrifying. I don't know. Jenna yelled back, adrenaline surging through her veins. But we can't leave it behind. Leave what? Stephen gasped, fear painting his face pale. There's nothing here but those things. No. A surge of defiance pierced through her panic. We heard it. We can't abandon someone who needs help. Her words hung in the air as they stumbled forward, the oppressive darkness whispering menacingly in their ears. With each step, it felt as if the forest itself was alive, closing in on them, a living entity that thrived on their fear. Then came the roar, low and cavernous, reverberating like a warning bell through the trees. It rattled her bones, freezing her heart for a moment. We have to make a choice. She pressed, her voice rising above the cacophony, desperate to rally her friends. Let us just go. Jacob pleaded, tugging her arm again. We'll find our way back out. We can't fight whatever that is. But behind her, the specter shimmered momentarily, and Jenna felt its anguish weave into her very soul. Help me, before it's too late. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but she couldn't let go. What had awakened inside her felt both terrifying and intoxicating, the desire to help thrumming through her chest. I can't. We can't leave. Suddenly, the ground trembled violently beneath her, sending her tumbling sideways. She barely righted herself, branches snapped underfoot, the icy grip of panic rooting her to the spot. Tendrils of fog enveloped her, coiling around her ankles like serpents trapping their prey. Jenna. Jacob's voice broke through the haze. He stumbled towards her, but the trees around seemed to shift, their roots stretching out to ensnare him. Stay together. She shouted, scrambling to catch up with him, but it felt like running in place, the forest conspiring against them. Stephen was frantic, searching the dark with wild eyes. Where is it? Where did it go? Right here. A voice cried out. The apparition had returned, its features twisting with a new kind of desperation. Find the heart of the curse. It's hidden in this forest. What heart? Jenna screamed, terror gripping hold of her. Where? I can't tell you. The figure wailed, shadows writhing around it. You must confront the darkness. It knows you, it knows your fears. Find the shrine and bring the light. I want to just walk into danger. Jacob shouted, panic crumbling his composure. A screech broke like glass shattering, reverberating off the trees, and the shadowy figures lurked closer, drawn by the chaos. Dark tendrils reached out, brushing against her skin like icy fingers. Run! Jenna screamed, fear igniting her limbs. They sprinted through a narrow path, dodging roots and branches in a frantic escape. But the forest twisted in ways that made it seem like it was alive, reshaping behind them as if trying to trap them within its grasp, but Jenna could feel it in the back of her mind, a flicker of understanding. The heart, the light, it was all tied together. As they bolted toward what seemed like a clearing ahead, a figure emerged, a dark silhouette, pulsing with ominous power. Jenna gasped, heart in her throat. This was the moment. Only together, the apparition had said. But could she trust her friends to stand with her? Or would one of them break, leaving her to face this new terror alone? The voice echoed again, haunting and desperate, help me, save us all. The clearing loomed ahead, but what awaited them crossed beyond darkness and shadows. Jenna took a deep breath, resolute. They had no choice, they had to confront whatever awaited them, and she knew, deep down, that the answer they sought lay at the heart of the hidden evil. But what else would they sacrifice to unearth the truth? The darkness beckoned, and as they stumbled forward, Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that whatever awaited them would change everything forever. As they burst into the clearing, the air felt different, charged with an unsettling energy. Jenna glanced around, her heart hammering in her chest. Ghostly silhouettes flitted among the trees, their ethereal forms distorting in the pale light. It was impossible to tell if they were the souls of the damned or just figments of her paling sanity. "Where is it?" Jacob muttered, eyes wide as he looked around, searching for the source of the chaos. "Where's the heart?" In the center of the clearing stood a massive stone altar, covered in twisted roots and thick vines that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Jenna felt her breath catch. That had to be it. The shrine. Over there. She pointed, voice barely a whisper. That has to be the heart of the curse. As they rushed towards the altar, the air hummed with tension, like a coiled spring ready to snap. Shadows stretched out from the base, twisting around Jenna's feet, tugging at her like desperate hands. Panic rushed back, but she felt the specter's call still pushing her forward. "Stay close," Jenna shouted, trying to rally her friends, but fear warped her voice, turning it into an echo of uncertainty. They reached the altar, breathless and wide-eyed. The stone was etched with disfigured symbols, twisted and indecipherable. "What do we do now?" Stephen whispered, trembling. "Bring the light," Jenna murmured, recalling the apparition's warning. "We need something to light it." At that moment, a chilling howl erupted from the shadows they were coming. She could see the gleaming eyes, hungry and malevolent, drawing closer as if the very darkness intended to consume them whole. "Jenna, we have to go," Jacob yelled, backing away from the altar, his eyes darting around in desperation. "These things, they want us." "No. We can't leave without doing something." Jenna felt a surge of resolve but remembered the memories flashing in her mind, the visions of those who were lost to this forest, trapped in an eternal torment. They were reaching for their last hope, and she was the only one who could give it to them. "Help me," she yelled, grabbing at the roots that coiled around the altar. "If you're out there, show yourself." The air thickened with tension, and the shadows responded. Dark figures swooped in, swirling around them like storms, their cries growing louder, more desperate. It felt like they were pleading, beckoning Jenna to embrace the darkness and the light that lay tangled within. "Jenna, don't!" Jacob shouted, fear exploding through his words. "You're risking everything." But she could sense it, the heart of the evil lay deeper within, waiting. Something glinted beneath the roots. As she clawed at the thick tendrils, she uncovered an ancient orb. Light pulsed within it, radiating warmth against the cold grip of the dark. "Light!" she cried, holding it high. The shadows shrunk back momentarily, howling in anger. Jenna's heart soared at the feeling of power coursing through her veins. "Jenna, what if it's a trap?" Stephen gasped, eyes wide with terror. "It's our only chance." With newfound determination, she placed the orb onto the altar. The moment it connected, a flash of blinding light erupted, engulfing everything in its brilliance, but then, with the brilliance came the echoing screams of anguish. The shadows that had receded lunged forward again, more ferocious than before. Jenna, Jacob, and Stephen shielded themselves, but the darkness seeped into their bones, chilling them to the core. "What's happening?" Jacob gasped, struggling to stand. Jenna could see the figures' now tormented souls, twisted and wailing in pain. "We need to finish it. We have to break the curse." But as she tried to harness the power of the orb, it pulsed violently, almost rejecting her. The forest screamed with rage, trees shaking, roots thrashing, like a living creature in agony. "Jenna! It's too much!" Stephen cried, desperation flooding his voice. "Let go. We need to get out of here." Just then, Jenna's vision narrowed, distorted sounds fading as she locked eyes with the figure, now appearing clearer amid the chaos. "You must embrace your fears," it whispered, the voice smooth yet filled with sorrow. "Only then will you break the chains that bind us." As the shadows encroached and the light flickered, Jenna wondered if she could really confront the darkness and save them all, or if they were about to lose everything in a reckoning that called for their deepest fears to be unearthed. What would she have to face? Was she ready for the truth? Jenna's heart raced as the shadows curled closer, breathing down her neck, wrapping around her like a cold shroud. She gripped the orb tighter, feeling its warmth pulse against the encroaching chill. But the moment of power felt fragile, like glass on the edge of shattering. "Jenna, listen to me." Jacob's panicked voice broke through the cacophony of wails and howls. His eyes, wide and pleading, shone with fear. "We can't do this. It's too strong." The souls twisted in the dark, their ghostly screams a stark reminder of what was at stake. Even as she struggled to focus, Jenna felt an undeniable pull, a call to step forward and confront the looming darkness that beckoned. She looked deep into the orb. "I can stop this," she whispered to herself, her throat tightening. She sensed the truth hidden within it and knew all those lost souls, they weren't just victims, they were also the key. "Embrace your fears," the figure's words echoed in her mind, sending chills through her spine. What did it really mean? She knew they had to confront their worst nightmares head-on, but selfish questions clawed at the edges of her mind. What if she failed? What if the shadows consumed them? No. We can't back down. With a shout, Jenna thrust the orb into the air, and a surge of power erupted from it, bursting like fireworks. The light sliced through the shadows like a knife, but it was also illuminating her own hidden darkness. "Jenna, no!" Jacob shouted anew, desperation thick in his voice as he shielded his eyes. The blinding light almost turned to liquid in the chaos around them. "Let go of your fears!" Jenna shouted, her voice steady and strong, all the uncertainty melted away. "I can't do this alone. We have to face our truth together." The orb flickered violently, flashes of memories swirling in Jenna's mind, the sorrow, the regrets, the voices of those they had lost. "You have to trust me." As the shadows recoiled, Jenna felt a wave of energy surge, her friends stepping closer, still trembling. "Stand by me," she urged. In their eyes, she saw the walls of their fears beginning to crack. But just as hope flickered, the wails grew deafening. From out of the darkness loomed a formidable figure, a monstrous shadow with blazing eyes and a mouth that stretched wider than reason could allow. It surged forth, a whirlwind of hatred and despair. "No!" Jenna cried, recoiling instinctively. The orb's light dimmed under its oppressive weight, flickering uncertainly. "You can't escape me," the figure growled, voice like gravel. "You think a mere glow will save you?" Jenna stumbled backward, Jacob barely managing to keep her upright. "What do we do now?" he gasped, panic slashing through his steadfast demeanor. "We dig deeper," Jenna shouted. "This isn't just about the forest. It's us. We have to find our inner strength." A hesitant stillness filled the clearing, the monstrous figure pausing mid-advance. It bared its monstrous teeth, and Jenna's courage faltered. It felt like staring into a mirror that reflected her worst fears, the failures, the doubts, the grief, but she couldn't give in. Stephen stepped forward first, trembling but determined. "We are not alone in this," he shouted, locking eyes with the entity. "And we will not be defined by our pain." The orb pulsed back to life, responding to their bravery, light pouring forth in radiating waves. But the shadow roared back, lunging at them. In that frantic moment, Jenna glimpsed her truth, the part of her that was terrified yet resilient. The orb glowed brighter, but would it be enough? "Together!" she screamed, and they all raised their hands toward the encroaching darkness. The forest held its breath, the air crackling with raw power as they faced the ultimate test. But just as the orb reached its zenith, the figure roared again, unleashing a wave of darkness that threatened to drown them. What if Jenna's newfound strength wasn't enough? Would the shadows consume them, or were they on the brink of something magnificent? The truth was about to unravel, and in those charged moments, only one question hung in the air: were they prepared to confront the terrifying truth buried deep within? The wave of darkness crashed over them, a suffocating mass that swallowed not just the light, but their breath as well. Jenna felt the orb flickering between her fingers, the heat escaping like a dying ember in a storm. She couldn't let it go out, not now, not when everything was on the line. Hold on! She shouted, her voice barely piercing through the turmoil as she focused on the faces of her friends. Each one was strained with fear, but also light, and they were all tethered together by the fragile hope that beat like a pulse in their chests. Think of what we've already faced, Jacob yelled above the noise. We've overcome so much. This is just another shadow trying to stop us. Determination ignited in Jenna's chest as she remembered the warmth of their laughter, the shared experiences that brought them together. In the face of the horror looming before them, those memories became armor, shielding her from despair. Give me your strength. She called out, eyes locked onto the monstrous figure. We can do this together. In unison, they began to chant, each word a thread binding them tighter against the darkness. It started as a whisper, but soon the words unfurled from their lips like a ribbon, weaving through the chilling winds of despair. They focused on their fears, the grief, the loss, the failures that haunted them, and they merged those feelings with their resolve. I am more than my fear. Jenna cried, channeling each ounce of emotion into the orb. The darkness wavered, the oppressive weight lifting slightly as the orb began to take on a new intensity, shifting colors like a sunrise breaking through the night, and then, it happened. A blinding burst of light erupted, shooting forth from the orb. The shadows recoiled, screeching as if stung. Jenna felt the heat radiate, pushing against the cold that had seeped into her skin. For a brief moment, clarity washed over her, and she saw the figure was suffering too, trapped within its own torment. You, it hissed, voice shaking under the light. You have the power to destroy me, yet you feel pity? It's not about destruction, Jenna replied firmly, heart racing against her ribcage. It's about understanding. We've all been through darkness. That doesn't mean we have to stay there. What is this? The shadow growled, its form flickering, taking on distortions like smoke blowing in the wind. You think you can change me? Yes, she said, strength infusing her words, rising from a place she didn't know existed within her. I believe we can change, and if we do, so can you. The shadow faltered, perhaps lost in the weight of her conviction. Jenna had struck a chord. She could feel the orb gaining strength, fueled by the emotions that tangled in her friends' hearts, but the reprieve was fleeting. A fresh wave of darkness surged, and Jenna stumbled as the shadows recoiled and screeched, a piercing wail that rattled the trees. She could sense the desperation of the creature, it was afraid of losing its grasp on what it had always known. Don't let go! Jacob shouted, stepping closer. They squeezed their eyes shut, digging deep to find that unprecedented strength. Jenna focused, visualizing the shadows transforming, recasting into something more forgiving. Then she thought about the lost souls around them, their anguish tangling with the shadows. Was it all trapped in a cycle of pain? She reached deep, her hand clutching the orb firmly. You've tormented so many, but you too can find peace. Then came an earth-shattering roar as the shadow surged forward, threatening to engulf them once more. With a desperation born of unity, they reached out once more, hearts pounding, breathless, intent on confronting the ultimate fear head-on. The orb's light pulsed, forcing Jenna to push beyond her limits, further into the depths of darkness, where the shadows and their own truths interfaced, and in that defining moment, the forest exploded with sound, a chaotic symphony of wails, roars, and a single question that hung heavy in the air: were they strong enough to awaken a dormant light trapped within shadows that held their past captive? As the darkness loomed, threatening to draw them into the abyss, Jenna realized they were on the cusp of a revelation that would change everything. Would they enter that unknown world, or would the very secrets of their past be the doom that defined them? The shadows roared around them, a cacophony of anguish echoing in the night. Jenna clutched the pulsating orb as if it were a lifeline, its warmth steadying her resolve. The figure loomed closer, its monstrous form flickering. She could see fear flashing in its ghastly eyes, and for a moment, their two worlds collided. Let us face it together, she urged her friends, glancing at Jacob and Stephen, their expressions of terror slowly morphing into fierce determination. There was strength in unity. We have the power to change this. In unison, they pressed forward, hearts beating in sync as they poured every ounce of emotion into the orb. Light erupted again, bright and fierce, illuminating the clearing with a divine warmth. The shadows cowered, swirling back, their anguished cries rising in pitch. And even in the chaos, the harmony of their voices wove a tapestry of hope amidst despair. "I'm not afraid of you," Jenna shouted, her voice ringing with newfound strength. "We all suffer, but we don't have to let it consume us." The orb pulsed in response, brighter than before, and the figure hesitated, caught off guard. Jenna seized the moment. "You are not alone. We've all faced our demons. You can let go." The shadow flickered in place, the cracks in its darkness deepening. Jenna reached out instinctively, and as if guided by fate, the orb shot forth a brilliant burst of light, illuminating everything in its path. "Together, now!" she cried out, pulling Jacob and Stephen with her, each of them embracing the warmth emanating from the orb. It filled them with a sense of purpose, driving away the biting chill. As the light expanded, the monstrous form began to shift. Groans of anguish transformed into reluctant whispers. "I don't want to be this trapped for eternity, then let us help you," Stephen shouted, stepping forward, his hand outstretched, beside Jenna's. "We can all find peace." The shadow flickered again, wavering and unsure. Jenna could feel its pain, an ocean of sorrow mirroring the memories that haunted each of them. "Understand that fear doesn't need to define you," she implored, her heart thundering. "Let go." And with that final push of unity, the orb's light wrapped around them, brightening like a sun breaking through storm clouds. An explosion of warmth surged forth, washing over the clearing and enveloping the figure. The shadows writhed as if trying to escape that radiant embrace, but they were drawn inexorably towards it. The dark figure howled but began to dissolve, its twisted edges softening. Memories of laughter, love, and hope rushed through Jenna's mind, anchoring her to a reality where light could overcome darkness. As the shadow sifted away, merging with the brilliance, it whispered one last plea: "Help me find them, I want to be free. Then we will find them together," Jenna declared, determination surging, and in that very moment, the clearing erupted in a dazzling explosion of light. The trees shimmered, like an ancient tapestry revealing its secrets. The darkness receded, and the oppressive air lifted. Jenna, Jacob, and Stephen stood, breathless, at the edge of the gloriously restored grove. The spirits released from their torment danced around them, giddy with joy, and the clearing sparkled like a sunlit meadow. Life returned to the forest in a vibrant rush. It bloomed with color, laughter bubbling forth from hidden corners. Jenna took a trembling breath, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face. The shadows finally banished. "We did it," she whispered, almost in disbelief. Stephen grinned, a radiant glow radiating from him. "We broke the curse. We saved them." Jacob nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. "We found our courage together." In that transformative moment, they realized the journey had changed them. In confronting the dark, they had discovered the light inside, not just for themselves, but for others too. They would carry this legacy onward, honoring those bound by shadows and treasuring the precious moments of unity, love, and resilience. As they stepped back from the clearing, the forest now alive with vibrant colors and fresh breath, they knew their story didn't end here. With a newfound purpose, they ventured forward, ready to embrace the adventures that lay ahead. But this time, they wouldn't walk alone. And the courage they had ignited would resonate long beyond the confines of that enchanted forest. It would spread, touch lives, and perhaps even light the way for others still lost in darkness. Their laughter echoed through the trees as they left, a sound filled with hope and promise, whispering to the corners of the world, "We are powerful, and we are free." If you enjoyed this story and want to support our journey, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss our next exclusive adventure. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and help us grow this amazing community. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this amazing story. Your support makes all the difference.